Imagine coming home after like a really long day. You reach into your pocket and you realize your keys are just gone.
Oh, that stomach drop. It is the absolute worst feeling.
Right. You are locked outside, frustrated, and honestly, your very first thought might be to just force your way in or, I don't know, break a window.
Which is pretty much always a terrible idea.
Exactly. So before you make a really costly decision, there is a safer, faster, and just smarter solution, which is calling a professional emergency locksmith.
It really is the ultimate stress test, you know? You go from feeling completely in control of your day to standing on a sidewalk, entirely blocked from your own life by a single piece of brass that you left on the kitchen counter.
In today's deep dive, we are going to discuss why emergency locksmith services in Brooklyn and Queens are the best option during those incredibly stressful lockout situations.
And how trained professionals can help you regain access without causing, well, unnecessary damage.
We will be looking at common emergency lockout situations, why DIY solutions usually end up causing way more damage, and the surprisingly complex services these modern technicians offer, from key replacement to major security upgrades.
Plus the blueprint for choosing someone reliable when you are in a panic.
Exactly. Now, if you are ever in this exact scenario, we have to mention our sponsor right at the top, Bolt Locksmith Williamsburg.
A lifesaver in those situations.
Truly, they are the trusted choice for emergency locksmith services in Brooklyn and Queens, New York. You can actually schedule your emergency locksmith inspection today by calling 929-294-420.
Which is definitely a number you want saved before the crisis actually happens.
Absolutely, because the psychology of a lockout is what makes it so uniquely difficult to navigate in the moment. When you're unexpectedly locked out, especially if it's late at night or like freezing outside,
Your brain just goes into a primitive state of panic. Your sense of shelter and safety has been abruptly revoked.
I call that caveman mode. Our rational thinking just evaporates completely. We look at a heavy wooden door, and then we look at a perfectly good, expensive window, and suddenly...
Smashing it seems totally fine.
Right. Shattering that window seems like a perfectly logical, totally reasonable way to get to our living room couch.
Which is fascinating because of the sheer variety of ways this happens to people. I mean, it is rarely a convenient sunny afternoon.
Never.
It is losing your transponder key in a dark parking garage after a 12-hour shift. Or it is a key snapping off inside the deadbolt because the temperature dropped and the metal became brittle.
Ugh, the worst. Or coming home to find a mangled lock after an attempted burglary, which is just chilling.
Exactly. In all these scenarios, the adrenaline spikes. The mechanical reality of the lock is entirely overshadowed by the psychological need to just get inside.
But let's pause on the mechanics for a second, because we have all seen the movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've seen the spy slide a credit card into the door jamb, give it a little wiggle, and the door pops open.
Classic Hollywood.
Or someone grabs a bobby pin and just magically twists the lock open in 2 seconds. I have to admit, standing on a porch, I would be incredibly tempted to try the credit card trick before I called anyone.
The credit card trick is perhaps the biggest myth in home security, and it is actually a perfect example of why DIY approaches fail spectacularly.
Wait, really? It doesn't work at all?
People assume a lock is just a simple spring pushing a piece of metal into a hole. But modern residential doors, especially in urban environments like Brooklyn, are engineered with a mechanism specifically designed to defeat that bypass.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah. Have you ever noticed that little half-moon-shaped pin sitting right next to the main latch on your door?
Yes. I always assumed that was just a secondary spring or maybe a guide for the main latch to keep it aligned.
A lot of people do. It is actually called a dead latch. When your door is closed, the strike plate on the door frame pushes that little half-moon pin flat into the door, while the main latch extends into the hole. When that dead latch is depressed, it physically locks the main latch in place. It cannot be pushed backward.
Wow. So if you slide a credit card in there and try to force the latch back...
You aren't fighting a spring. You are fighting solid, locked steel.
So the card is just going to shatter and I'm still locked out.
Pretty much. Or you start using stronger tools. You grab a screwdriver from your car and try to pry the door frame.
Which just ruins the door.
Exactly. Now you are gouging the wood, bending the strike plate, and misaligning the entire door. People even try shoving coat hangers into high-security cylinders, completely oblivious to the delicate microscopic pins inside.
Let me guess. They break the pins.
They shear them right off, yeah.
Yeah.
Turning a functioning lock into a paperweight.
Let me challenge the economics of this, though. Let's say I'm standing outside at 2 a.m. It is freezing, and an emergency locksmith quotes me a couple $100 for a late-night call-out.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Right. Basic math kicks in. I know I can go to a hardware store and buy a pane of glass for maybe $100. Isn't breaking a small window actually the cheaper, faster DIY solution if I just really need to get in?
It seems like simple math until you account for the hidden costs of modern construction.
Hidden costs.
First off, very few homes have single-pane, easily replaceable glass anymore. You are likely breaking a double-paned, argon and gas-filled window that requires a custom order to replace,
Oh man, I hadn't even thought about the insulation factor.
which can cost several $100s. Plus, you now have a massive security vulnerability. You have an open hole in your house overnight.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
You have to clean up shattered glass in the dark, which is a safety hazard. You are exposing your home to the weather, risking water damage. And you still have to pay for the materials and labor to fix it anyway.
So breaking a window is just creating 5 new emergencies to solve one.
Exactly. A professional locksmith arriving to pick the lock non-destructively avoids all of those cascading costs and physical risks.
So instead of a physical sledgehammer approach, a professional locksmith is doing something completely different. I like to think of it almost like a computer hacker finding a back door into a system.
That is a great analogy.
They aren't trying to smash through the firewall, right? The door itself. They're using specialized tools to speak the mechanical language of the lock.
Precisely. They're convincing the internal pins that the correct key is present so the lock willingly opens itself.
That is a highly accurate way to visualize it. And executing that kind of non-destructive entry on demand at any hour of the day requires a serious infrastructure.
Right. We often think of a locksmith as a lone individual with a tool belt, but an emergency locksmith operation is actually a sophisticated rapid response logistics network.
It really is a logistical feat. We're talking about 24-hour, 365-day availability.
Holidays, weekends, rain or shine.
If someone is locked out of their apartment on Thanksgiving morning or loses their car keys at a New Year's Eve party, a mobile unit has to be ready to dispatch immediately.
And they are aiming for rapid response times, often around 30 minutes, which, if you consider the unpredictability of traffic across boroughs like Brooklyn and Queens,
Oh, the traffic is
it
legendary.
requires incredibly precise dispatching and multiple mobile technicians positioned strategically.
It is basically the same operational DNA as an emergency medical dispatch or a fire department, just applied to access and security. And that actually brings up a crucial point about transparency, which is something our sponsor excels at.
Transparency is huge in this industry.
Before we dive into the wild technology inside these modern locks, we should take a moment to highlight how a premium service actually operates in the field.
Because the contrast between a professional service and an amateur operation is starkest the moment they arrive on site.
And that is exactly why we are thrilled to be sponsored by Bolt Locksmith Williamsburg. If you look at their 5-star reviews, you immediately see a pattern of superior quality and excellent emergency locksmith services across Brooklyn, Queens, and Manhattan.
A track record like that doesn't just happen by accident.
No, it takes real dedication. They operate 24 hours a day from their physical locations in Williamsburg and DUMBO. Their licensed technicians handle a massive variety of work.
Residential, commercial, and automotive, right?
Yep. We are talking about basic lockouts, lock repair, rekeying, full key replacement, cracking safes, and installing comprehensive security systems.
Getting locked out can be incredibly stressful, but having a trusted locksmith who shows up quickly and operates transparently can give you total peace of mind.
Seriously. Call Bolt Locksmith Williamsburg at 929-294-4250. They are the best in Brooklyn and Queens.
You mentioned transparency there, and that is a key differentiator. A legitimate professional arrives, evaluates the hardware, and gives you a clear diagnosis and upfront pricing before they touch a single tool.
No surprises.
None. They explain exactly what they're going to do, whether it is picking a standard deadbolt or bypassing a complex commercial system.
Let's actually dig into that complexity because the scope of what a modern locksmith has to understand is mind-blowing to me.
It's evolved so much.
Let's start with residential. If you walk down a single block in a Brooklyn neighborhood, you might see a historic brownstone with a massive, heavy mortise cylinder lock next door to a newly renovated apartment sporting a sleek digital smart lock from Schlage or Yale.
The mortise lock is a perfect example of mechanical complexity. Unlike a standard deadbolt that just sits in a hole drilled through the door, a mortise lock requires a large rectangular pocket.
The mortise, right?
Yes, the mortise, to be hollowed out of the door itself. The lock is essentially a heavy metal cassette containing a labyrinth of levers, springs, and gears.
They always feel so solid when you turn the key.
They are incredibly secure and durable, often lasting a century. But repairing or rekeying one requires an intimate, almost tactile understanding of physical mechanics.
So it's basically a metal vault buried inside the wood of the door itself. And on the flip side, you have Bluetooth and Wi-Fi smart locks that require no physical key at all.
Exactly, which means the same technician who spent the morning meticulously filing a brass key for a 1920s mortise lock might spend their afternoon troubleshooting the digital encryption protocols of a Medeco smart lock,
That is wild.
trying to figure out why it refuses to sync with a homeowner's smartphone network.
The duality is just crazy to me. They have to be part blacksmith and part IT professional. And if you think residential is complex, automotive locksmithing seems like pure science fiction now.
Oh, automotive is a whole different beast.
Like if I lose the keys to my car, I can't just take a blank piece of metal to a hardware store anymore.
Not if your car was manufactured in the last 2 decades.
Yep.
Modern vehicles utilize transponder keys. Inside the plastic head of your car key is a microscopic glass chip, which is the transponder.
Okay, so it's hidden inside the plastic.
Yes. When you put the key in the ignition or even just walk up to a push-to-start vehicle, the car's computer sends out a radio frequency signal.
Like a digital handshake.
Exactly like that. The chip in the key receives that signal and broadcasts back a unique cryptographic code.
And if it doesn't match?
If the car's immobilizer system doesn't recognize that exact code, it literally disables the fuel pump or the starter. The engine will not turn over, even if the physical metal key perfectly turns the ignition cylinder.
So when an automotive locksmith comes to replace a lost proximity key for, say, a luxury European or Asian vehicle, they aren't just cutting metal.
Far from it.
They are plugging specialized diagnostic tablets into the car's OBD2 port, hacking into the onboard computer, bypassing the security firewalls, and programming a blank transponder chip.
Teaching the car to accept a brand new digital identity, all while standing on the side of a highway in the pouring rain.
That is just incredible. And then, of course, you have the commercial sector. Businesses require a completely different tier of access control.
Right, businesses aren't using traditional deadbolts. They have buzzer systems, intercoms, panic hardware on fire exits.
Master key systems, where one key opens everything, but another key only opens the supply closet.
Exactly.
I was reading about electric strikes, which just sound incredibly intense.
An electric strike is a fascinating piece of engineering. On a standard door, you turn the handle, and the latch pulls back out of the door frame to let you in.
It's simple enough.
With an electric strike, the handle is usually locked from the outside at all times. Instead, the metal strike plate on the door frame itself is wired to an electrical current.
Oh, wow.
When someone buzzes you in, the current releases a hinge on the strike plate, allowing the metal frame to swing open, letting the door bypass the latch entirely without the handle ever turning.
That is brilliant.
Yeah.
But it also means a locksmith installing or fixing that system is dealing with low-voltage wiring, electronic access software, and strict municipal fire codes, right?
Strict codes.
To ensure those doors automatically unlock during a power outage so people aren't trapped inside.
Which brings us back to the most critical point of this entire discussion, which is the vetting process.
The blueprint for choosing a reliable locksmith.
Exactly. When you combine the vulnerability of an emergency lockout with the extreme technical complexity of modern security hardware, it becomes dangerously clear that not just anyone can do this work safely.
But let me ask the obvious question here. I am locked out. I am panicking. I pull out my smartphone and search for a locksmith near me. Why shouldn't I just click the very first sponsored link that pops up at the top of the search results? Does it genuinely matter who I call in that moment?
It matters deeply, and that frantic Google search is exactly what predatory scammers rely on.
Really?
The industry refers to them as phantom locksmiths or drill and bill operations. When you click that top sponsored ad, you often are calling a local business. You are calling an out-of-state dispatch center.
Wait, so they don't even have a shop in the neighborhood?
They don't have a shop at all. They operate under dozens of fake names. The call center gives you an artificially low quote over the phone, say $29 for a service call, just to get you to agree.
Okay, $29 sounds suspiciously cheap.
Then they dispatch an unlicensed, untrained subcontractor who is essentially just a person with a car and a power drill.
Let me guess. They show up, take one look at your lock, and tell you it is a high-security model that cannot be picked.
That is exactly the script. They claim the lock is unpickable, which is rarely true.
Yep.
Because they lack the skills and the specialized tools to bypass the lock non-destructively, their only method of entry is to take a drill and completely destroy the cylinder.
So they just ruin it.
Once the lock is ruined and the door is open, they claim the initial $29 quote was just for showing up. They then charge you hundreds of dollars for the labor of drilling, plus an exorbitant markup to install a cheap, low-quality replacement lock that compromises your home security.
So you're left with a damaged door, a substandard lock, and a bill that is 3 or 4 times what a legitimate professional would have charged to just pick the original lock clean.
It's a total nightmare.
How do we avoid falling into that trap? What is the blueprint for choosing someone reliable?
You look for the core markers of an established, accountable business. First, as we mentioned with Bolt Locksmith, you look for a physical footprint.
Right.
A company with a primary base, like their location at 161 Halfmeyer Street, has roots in the community. They have a reputation to protect, unlike a phantom call center.
Right. If a business has a storefront you can walk into, they cannot just vanish if something goes wrong.
Second, you demand transparent, upfront pricing. A legitimate technician will evaluate the situation on site and tell you exactly what it will cost before they begin any work.
So if they hesitate to give a price?
If they refuse to give a firm price, or if they immediately reach for a drill without even attempting to pick the lock, that is a massive red flag. And third, ensure they are fully licensed and insured.
Because insurance protects your property.
Exactly. If any accidental damage occurs during the complex process of bypassing or installing hardware, you want to be covered.
The ultimate takeaway here seems to be that the absolute worst time to find a locksmith is when you actually need one.
Pre-screening your emergency contacts is a basic tenet of personal security. You wouldn't wait for your pipes to burst to research a good plumber.
Sure.
You shouldn't wait to be shivering on a porch at midnight to find a trustworthy security professional. You find a reputable service, check their reviews, verify their service area, and save their number in your phone today.
That is fantastic advice. Let's summarize the key takeaways from today's deep dive. Getting locked out can be incredibly stressful, throwing your entire day or night completely off its axis.
We've all been there.
But making the right choice in that moment of panic can save you significant time, money, and unnecessary damage.
Absolutely.
Instead of risking broken windows, gouged door frames, or falling victim to a predatory drill and bill scammer, a professional emergency locksmith can provide a quick and secure solution when you need it most.
They bring structural order and technical expertise to a highly chaotic, emotional situation.
Whether it's late at night, early in the morning, or during an unexpected emergency, having a trusted locksmith in Brooklyn and Queens can give you absolute peace of mind. Thank you for listening to today's deep dive. Stay prepared, stay safe, and remember, when you're locked out, the smartest solution is to call the experts.
Call them before you break a window.
Seriously, call the sponsor now, Bolt Locksmith Williamsburg, for trusted emergency locksmith services in Brooklyn and Queens, New York. You can schedule your emergency locksmith inspection today by calling 929-294-4250.
Save it in your contacts right now.
Again, Bolt Locksmith provides 24-hour locksmith service across Brooklyn, Queens, and Manhattan from their locations in Williamsburg and DMBO. Their licensed technicians handle residential, commercial, and automotive locksmith work, including lockouts, lock repair, rekeying, key replacement, safes, and security systems.
As we close out, I want to leave you with one final thought regarding this rapid evolution of security technology.
What's that?
We are sprinting toward a future of smart homes and connected cars that rely almost entirely on Bluetooth handshakes, cloud servers, and biometric data to let us through our front doors.
Right, the digital keys.
It begs a fascinating question. Will the terrifying, isolating lockout of the near future be caused by a lost piece of physical brass or by a sudden, localized cloud server outage?
Oh, wow.
It is certainly something to ponder the next time your smartphone forces an unexpected software update while you are standing on your front porch.